and I are going to go on a journey together. Outfitting this van, upfitting it for the road. So this is the beginning of a series of videos that will take you from start to finish for this van build out. Now this happens to be a Ford Transit. Yours could be a Chevy Express, a GMC Savannah. What else is there? A Ram ProMaster or a Sprinter. It could be any one of these or a completely different kind. The principles are the same though. You still have the same considerations. So in this series, we're going to look at material choices. We're going to look at layout choices. We're going to look at installation choices, some tricks of the trade for maintaining your headroom. This is a very, very, very cool tip we're going to get to in this series. There's just so much creativity involved here and personalization. So let's get to it. Now, depending on the climate you're going to be in, if it's going to be intensely hot, probably, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but I would guess if it's going to be 70 or higher, or if it's going to be below, I would say 55, right? That would be my comfort level. Then I would insulate the van. So desert nights are definitely below 55, and just about, and most places outside of the winter are above the 70s during the day. So most likely insulating is going to be a good idea. Now there are folks who do not insulate, and they are remarkable people, and that they have other tricks, but I'm an insulator. So one of the tricks that I've heard that people who don't insulate do is they will spray ceramic spray paint on the ceiling and the walls and the floor, which helps provide some kind of insulation. So you might want to look into that. For my purposes, I am going with an insulation that's non-toxic. It also helps to draw chemicals from the air. It also holds the moisture and releases it when the air is dry enough. So it is a very effective van build insulation. I've also insulated my shed in it when I was living in the shed, and it worked beautifully in Vermont in the deep winter. And it is, drum roll please, wool. So wool will be the insulation for this van, and we're going to be taking a look at the installation process of wool. Another material that we're going to be considering is the walls and the ceiling and the floor. Now, why am I not going with the Coroplast? This is a great product. It's lightweight, super flexible, somewhat insulating. So why in the world not go with that? Well, when it comes to materials choices, it's not only about weight, it's not only about cost, and it's not only about toxicity, although those are all extremely important. Another almost equally important consideration for me is whether or not things will stick to it. Those handy little hooks that that you peel off the back of, stick on, and you can hang your coat, you can hang your umbrella, you can hang your keys. Things like that in a van can make all the difference. We are seeking ways to store and mount things off the floor as much as possible. With Coroplast, it's extremely difficult. Even the company advises people, hey, don't expect to be adhering anything here. So I'm going with a different kind of material, going with slightly heavier material, but you can stick things to it. And it's formaldehyde free though. It's Pure Bond, birch, plywood. So those are some of the materials choices I've started out making. Some of the considerations you might want to be considering. Again, toxicity, it's a small enclosed space, whether you vent it or not, and also flammability, aesthetics, can you stick things to it? Is it lightweight? Is it cost effective? Is it insulating? These are all things to consider. For me, it comes down to I don't want formaldehyde anywhere in here, and I want to be able to stick things to my wall. So that's why I'm going with the plywood. Okay. So remember, you can keep this if you're not interested in sticking things to the wall. It's going to be replaced with 1/4 inch plywood. Now, why 1/4 inch plywood and not the shiplap? So the reason is because visually, if I see a lot of lines, I get vertigo pretty easily. And when I see lines on things, the eyes and the brain have to work a lot harder, and it throws me off, and it's stressful. It's stressful for my body. So I don't like that. I just want a solid, clean line. So there it is. So those are the main materials, the ceiling, the walls. Now the floor is already that corrugated plastic that's coated. It's staying. It has felt on the bottom. It came with felt on the bottom. So that is staying. Now you could choose to insulate the floor more. You could choose to do plywood. A lot of people do 3/4 inch plywood, and then they laminate it for moisture control. So you have lots of choices with the floor. I am going with this. This is a very durable plastic here, and it's already a little bit rough for traction. And I'm just going to put some carpet over it. Just throw carpet over it and freshen up the carpet by shaking it out. And I like going to those car places where they have the vacuums, and that's how I'll vacuum and clean. So I'm a carpet girl, white shag, so that's what's going in here. Those are examples of material choices. What are your favorite materials for your van build? What are you considering? I'd love to hear about it. Do you have any questions about materials? Let's keep the conversation going. Now, for the build out for the furniture, you have a lot of choices as far as thickness. You could go with 3/4 inch plywood, 1/2 inch plywood, 1 inch plywood, 1/4 inch plywood, the whole gamut. And it's the 1/4 inch, of course, is going to be the lightest. The difference in weight, though, if you look up 1/4 inch plywood versus 1/2 inch plywood versus 3/4 inch plywood, yeah, it's going to be tens of pounds. But you might have to add other structural components, the thinner plywood you go with, in order to hold it together and to keep it from like shaking loose with all the movement of the van. And those extra structural components are actually going to add weight, and they're going to take up some space too, just like the thicker wood would. So these are all something to consider. This is all something to consider. There is a slight impact on miles per gallon when you add up all the structural elements, but when you consider the weight of passengers, if this was a passenger vehicle and not a cargo vehicle, there would be all that weight as well. So that's my thought process. What's yours? Now, in this particular van build, I'm going to go with some storage drawers under the bed. And so the carpenter, who I'm choosing to work with a carpenter, he wants to use 3/4 inch. Now, here's an example of material choices. I was all about, hey, no, let's go with something cool like Coroplast or like 1/2 inch plywood and do it that way. And he said, well, actually, you're going to end up having to put corner braces in with other pieces of wood. That's going to take up some room in the drawer, and it's also going to mean you're not going to have these squared inside edges. They're going to have these blocks in them, and and it's also going to add time to the build and money to the build to have to go through that process. So I'm going to try it and see how it goes, because you know what? Van builds change. You're going to do a van build. Whether it's a professional who does it, you do it. If you pay $10,000 for somebody like super professional van builder to do it, you're still going to change stuff, or you're going to wish stuff were different. So this is version 1. All right, those are some examples of material choices. I highly recommend looking into Coroplast for non-structural elements, shelves that may not be supporting a lot of weight, anything you can think of. Coroplast is definitely worth a look. And the wool insulation as well. Okay. That's it. That's everything I wanted to share with you right now. It's a very exciting process. And we'll get on to the next topic in the next video. And we're going to be talking about the layout. We're going to be talking about the installation of these materials and some of the costs involved, all kinds of considerations. Really glad you're here along for the journey. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments or ideas. Love to hear from you always. And remember, you can do it. Enjoy your journey.